Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. I apologize for the hoarseness of my voice, but there was a lot of cheering last night. An extra period and a half. My name is Neil Harden. I'm chairing today's panel. With me is Carrie Linklater to my left and Jerry Sneesby to my far left. The assessor today is Howard McCubbin, and the secretary is Belen Rojo, sorry. I always pronounce it the Scandinavian way. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment rule in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the board. The board is appointed annually by council and is independent of it in the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing, and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. So can you do the swearing in?
Please state your full name.
Howard Lindsay McCubbin.
And you affirm the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Please state your full name.
Henry Dupont.
And you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do you have any evidence for this?
Not this one. I'll go as I go along.
Yep.
Read.
Okay, we will start with 1555 Regent Avenue, Unit Admin. So you may proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5768. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. And the address is 1555 Regent Avenue West. Business assessment ID 50994. And the owners are Primaris Management Incorporated, or Inc. The total annual rental value is $68,700. I do have a recommendation for this unit, Mr. Chairman, to reduce the total annual rental value from $68,700 to $26,160. This is the admin office for the shopping center, and I've reduced the rental rate to $15 a square foot.
Okay, any other?
Any questions? No questions, and I agree.
Okay, I imagine you would say it's below the threshold.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions from the panel?
No questions.
Okay, then on to same address, Unit T120.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5566. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is T20-1555 Regent Avenue West. The business assessment ID is 40884. And and the business name is Warehouse One, the jeans store. Total annual rental value is $139,140. The premise area is 3,213 square feet, and the base ARV per square foot is $37.10. I do have a recommendation, Mr. Chairman, to reduce the total annual rental value from $139,140 to $126,780. You can see that there is rent for this unit, lease for this unit, sorry. The lease start date is November the 23rd, 2011. It's a net, 5 years, 2 months at $28. We are assessing this at current market value and conditions as of April the 1st, 2016. That's why we differ from the actual paid rent or the contract rent. All inline tenants at this mall were assessed at $37.10 for realty purposes, as agreed by Rod Slaughter of Altus. And what I can tell you, and we'll see this as we roll through this docket, is the properties that are here today have the reported rent less than what the base ARV is. In some cases, the actual rents are older, so we must adjust to current market conditions. It was agreed upon with these malls, including Simpotal Shopping Center and Kildonan Place, which this is, that we agreed on a total potential income, and that comes from varying rents throughout the mall. Some were lower than the actual paid rents, and in this case, the actual base ARV is higher. But it all works out in the end to April the 1st, 2016 market value. And that's my presentation.
Okay, questions, Henry?
What does inline tenants mean?
Inline tenants mean just instead of the large anchor tenants, you have all the smaller units within the mall itself. That's the term that they use.
The average 3710 that was settled at, that was for the total CRU or inline tenants?
Total inline tenants similar to this tenant that's here before us.
So the 3710, would that include the food court rents?
I don't know.
So when there was a settlement with the Oraltis,
Yes.
there was a settlement on the bulk of the inline tenants. There was no settlement for each individual tenant, is that correct?
No, but what happens, Mr. Chairman, is when we assess these large malls, we have a spreadsheet that we send over to Altus with the varying rates that we place on these units. It's massaged between the two of us. Sometimes they look at the potential rent and they agree with the total potential rent for the inline tenants, and it's accepted, but it has to be reasonable, and it has to indicate April 1st, 2016 market value. And that's the understanding as far as the realty is concerned. We're not mixing up realty with business assessment. Now we're here on individual units, but to have fairness in the system and to relate to other units, it's expected that they would be assessed at $37.10 a square foot.
So do you agree that the tenants that are not in line, those large ones, are negotiated on the specific rent for each one?
Yes, I do.
And you would agree that the reason we do on inline tenants for all is that these tenants are usually paying taxes on a proportionate share of square footage. so their actual rents does not matter, only the total.
Well, they do portion it out that way. The actual rents do matter because in the end, the actual rents placed, the base ARV or the rents that we've placed on these units?
The rent that you've placed on the inline tenants,
Yes.
individually, it doesn't matter if they're over assessed by $2 per square foot, as long as the overall rent, it establishes the overall taxes for
Right.
divided.
Like I've said, Mr. Chairman, in some cases, the rents are higher and in some cases they're lower. But when you look through the entire group of these types of units, to have comparability and fairness within all the units, that is the overall rent that we came up with. As I've said, 3710 in some cases would be lower than the actual paid rent for some units, but you wouldn't find those units being appealed here today, because for obvious reasons. Again, I'm speaking to realty here, but I think, and I know the board has been cognizant of the fact that there have been agreements on realty, and they've been trying to follow those agreements. And when coming up with values for business assessment also.
That's all questions?
No questions? Carrie, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Jerry?
No, I think that was explained pretty well. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, the issue is with realty, you're looking at the overall value of the mall as a whole and not necessarily concerned with the value of each individual units.
No, we are concerned with the value of each individual units because it has to make sense and it has to be rationalized in terms of the rates that we place on each individual unit. It has to indicate April 1st, or it should indicate April 1st, 2016 market value.
Okay, I have no more questions, then you can proceed with your presentation.
So for all the shopping centers here today, they're all the regional shopping centers. Either they were settled or they had a ruling at the board. But that was an overall settlement of what they call the inline tenants, which are the tenants that are paying the taxes based on proportionate share by square feet. The large tenants quite often are represented by other agents, so that when we negotiate the realty value, we have to get the permission of these agents that represent other tenants. So all the energy is taken for those large tenants, those that pay taxes based on their rents. And the other tenants, the assessor, they gave us a list of what they believe to be rents. And what we've done in the past is that we take the assessor's rent, we take our rents, and then we get the total. And then when the total is close to their total, that's when we say we agree to that. Now, I was told by Rod Slaughter that they tried in the past to negotiate each and every rent, and that became impossible. That the assessor and Altus could not agree, and in the end, it did not matter because all you need is the bulk value of these inline tenants to get a settlement. So for realty tax purposes, it doesn't matter what the actual rents are or the market rents are for these tenants. It only matters for business tax. So therefore, the way we negotiate, if a tenant is paying more than 3710, they're paying 40, we'll say, well, that's their market rent because they're paying 40. But the assessors really bring it down to 37. But those that are paying less than 37, we want 37, so that we can't see eye to eye with the assessor. They don't want to do it our way to get each individual value, and they go more with the average. So therefore, on this one, Like, you have my information.
Sorry, I don't have. Oh,
Did you pass it?
I did,
Yeah.
yes.
On your information, I believe the value should be 103,920.
Oh, okay. You did the.
I did
Divided by 12.
Yeah.
So the comments on top says the actual rent from 2011 to 2017 is 28, but they renewed in 2017 to 2022, another 5 years at 30. We request 30, so we can see that the actual rent 28 is an older rent. We bump it up by $2, and it should not go up to 37. Now, we have the part of the rent roll. Now, the warehouse one is on the last page. But I show the rent also for other units, so that the middle of the page, you have base rent, and it shows base rent per square foot. So the first tenant is 19 per square foot, the next one is 27.50, Just Gear is 30. The other tenants are 36, 32. Then you go down the line, and then you have one on the next page, it's $50. And that's a smaller area, $8.85. Then you got another one that's $75, smaller area again. And then it drops down to $29.59, and then the warehouse is 30, that's effective 2/17. And you go down the line, you can see you got the rent $29.40, $25.49. So the rent at 30 is in line with what other tenants are paying, so that some of the smaller tenants will pay a high rent. The last two at the bottom, 962 and 986 square feet, are paying 63 and 55. So it's improper to average out those particular rents. Because if we came here to the board, we would not be asking for $37 when they're paying 75. So that's my solution.
Questions?
So, thanks, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. DuPont, I see here you have a rent roll. And you have rents in this rent roll. First of all, you have the date on the rent roll being April the 30th, 2017.
Right.
Is that, and you're also referencing post-reference leases, is that correct within this?
The rent start on a lot of those are 2012, 2015, etc.
But when you look at the last page, you've included a rent there that's post-reference, and you brought it forward here to the board to make your case, is that correct?
The subject warehouse one was $30 on February 1st, 2017, and 28. Prior to that, you advised also the board was 28.
Would you agree that we should not be using post-reference information?
No, I don't think it's a big thing. So that if we're gonna speculate that the rent at $28 is an older rent, and that what would it be if it were renewed in 2016? I think the actual rent of $30 gives you a good indication that we should not go from 28 to 37.
Fair enough, and I understand your rationale, but I'm asking you, do you think it's right to bring forward to this hearing post-reference material? You say you think it's okay to start now bringing forward post-reference material to this hearing?
Well, Mr. McCubbin, in this instance, it works in the city's favor, the post-reference information,
Oh.
rather than saying 28. I understand your
No,
point on the post-reference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether it works in our favor or not. It's all about procedure here, Mr. Chairman, and fairness with respect to what we're presenting in
on the
terms of
post-reference
evidence.
information.
Yeah, because I could bring, we don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
I have one more question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. DuPont, would you agree that tenants move into these units and do their build-outs themselves? In other words, finish the space, they're essentially renting a shell space and they come in to finish it to their liking.
I have no information in that regard. I believe you're using $37. You don't take into consideration whether the tenant bills out or not.
Those are all the questions I have.
Okay, Jerry, any questions?
No, I have no question.
Carrie?
I have no questions, thank you.
My question is going to be in terms of equity to the city on this. Certainly someone who's paying $47 rent and being assessed at 37 is not going to appeal. So then the city would be, I don't know, unfairly restricted by then reducing the rents on, we either use the average or we use the individuals.
Well, first of all, we don't know for a fact that all the other tenants are assessed at $37.10. I didn't check to see, it's hard to get the roll numbers, but those are paying $75 a square foot. I doubt they're being assessed for business taxes at 75. And that itself is not a matter of equity. It's the assessor is averaging up all the rents, including the high ones and the low ones, and some of the low ones are for a lot smaller properties. And that's, the market should have been established and refined more than adding all the rents together. That was not an accurate way to value. So I don't think the equity principle would apply here.
Okay, can I ask you, Howard, then, when you did the average and worked it out to 37.10, was that a weighted average for the entire thing, taking into account the area times the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was. Yeah. And just to take that a little further, Mr. Chairman, when we assess these properties, we do assess them individually in terms of a market rent for that particular unit. Like I said, Altus has a spreadsheet with all the rents that were placed on these properties. And what we're doing here, as the mall is doing itself, they're using an overall rate for, they're basing it on square footage, but that potential income is basically divvied up between all the inline units. We're doing the same here for business taxes to ensure that that carries true and there's that measure of comparability and fairness within those inline tenants. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
Okay, so you're saying that for realty purposes,
yes,
they're taking the same, they're charging the individual units the same amount
per square foot.
per square
Per
foot?
square foot, exactly.
Regardless
And we're
of
doing the
whether-
same here.
And do you have any information on that, Henry?
Yeah, on that, I've seen some of the rents that you've given to Altus, and I believe on this one in St. Paul, you're not giving the average to each individual tenant. Just like you said a while ago, you do establish individual rents for each tenant, and the $75 rent could be set at $75 on your spreadsheet that you sent to Altus to start with.
Yes. Oh, it could be set at $75, but in the end, we have a total potential income for the inline tenants. And the idea is because the malls are interested in charging them equally for, based on their square footage, tax rate, so to say. So, charging them one tax rate per square foot for all the inline tenants. Essentially, this is what I'm doing here, or this is what we've done here.
Right, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
agree that very few tenants are in fact assessed for realty purposes at $37.10? That's the
Oh,
average.
in the assessment, exactly, but the way the mall is treating the inline tenants is they're using an overall square foot value from that potential income. And essentially, this is what we're doing here.
Right, so the mall doesn't care about individual rents, they only care about the total, which they divide.
Well, it still has to reflect market value. The mall still has to, I think the mall realizes and the tenants realize that, you know, there are build-outs involved, there are different circumstances for different tenants, and the mall tries to encapsulate that with 1 square foot value to be fair to all the inline tenants for realty purposes.
Yes, nevertheless, you do not assess other tenants and line tenants at 3710, or rarely. You do give individual rents to each tenant.
Oh, in the original spreadsheet that calculated the potential income, yeah, we just didn't come up with 3710
Right.
times the square footage of all the inline tenants to come up with an assessed value. That is just an average.
And saying that's the original assessment, and
Yeah.
for the 15-1, the settlement for realty.
Yeah.
They all have their own specific rent. Thank you.
Okay, any summation?
No,
Any questions from the panel or anything from the?
Not from
Okay,
me.
submission, any?
No.
Okay,
Oh, yes, they do.
oh, okay.
The rent roll that I gave, Howard was saying this, some information after reference here. Of all the tenants I gave, only 2 started in 2017, the rest started before the reference date. So all these other rents are given as comparables are in fact, most of them are within the reference date.
Okay, thank you. We go to 1555 Regent, Unit T34.
thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5558. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is T34-1555 Regent Avenue West. The business assessment ID is 51951. The business owner is Jets Gear. Now, the total annual rental value, Mr. Chairman, is $114,540. I have a recommendation here, again, based on the discussions that we've had, to reduce the overall annual rental value from $114,540 to $102,900 based on the $37.10 per square foot.
Okay, is that your presentation?
There is a lease, Mr. Chairman, net lease, February 1st, 2014, 2 years, 7 months. Reported rent is $30 a square foot.
Okay. I will say that if the arguments are going to be the same on this one as the
Yeah.
previous, there's no need to repeat them, just point out anything that's different.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I actually have the same rent rolls that I had given for the previous property. And it's just here shown that for 2016 at $30, and which is the same, I guess, as the February 2014 rent. So I should have given the 2016 rent roll also. I thought I had, but I didn't. But the actual rent is $30, and that's what I'm requesting.
Okay, did you have any questions? Panel have any questions from? All right, and I did the division and this one works out.
No. Okay. Yeah, I have 8426. I think I did it there.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, move on to 838 Dakota Street.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5500. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 838 Dakota Street. The business assessment ID is 50260. The business name is Red River Gas Bar. The total annual rental value, Mr. Chairman, is $114,780. The total premise area, and this is for the kiosk, is 416 square feet. That premise area is multiplied by a base ARV per square foot of $273.60. Now, again, with this particular property is actually at the Centertel Shopping Center, Mr. Chairman, and not a regional mall. In the workup, this gas kiosk has its own workup, and this was accepted by Altus in negotiations at $373.60. Also, what I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, added to that realty value was the value of the tanks and pumps, which are not a part of this appeal. They were separate. Business taxes are not being charged on the pumps
Okay.
and tanks, which are $483,000. Now, I'd like you to disregard the information under the subject lease information. That's incorrect. That should say, this is the old Safeway. It's now a co-op store and gas bar. The gas bar itself, if you can just omit 7-Eleven, the gas bar, and insert $32,583.33 per month. $1,583.33 per month. Just by way of background here, in October 2013, Sobeys plan to buy out Safeway stores caused them to divest 4 stores in Winnipeg as ordered by the Competition Bureau, if you remember that. So this was formerly Safeway. If you turn to the next page, if I can turn your attention, this is the lease profile. If you look at the bottom of the page, sort of 2 paragraphs up, where it says B.
Where it says what?
B. 2 paragraphs up from the bottom of the page.
Okay, I see,
And it
yeah.
reads the original term from and after November the 16th, 07, to and including November the 15th, 2017, the rent payable shall be $32,583 per month. And it goes on further to say the gas bar facility opened January 27th, 04. The annual rate back then was $354,999.96. This is obviously a land lease for the gas bar. And as you can see, if you multiply the current amount, which is $32,583.33, I will do that right now. We arrive at a total annual rent for that land that the gas bar sits on of $390,999 or $391,000. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn your attention to page 1 again. Our total annual rental value for this gas bar is $114,780. And that's my presentation.
Okay, questions, Henry?
So you said that we should look at the monthly rent, et cetera, but that works out to $7.11 per square foot, is that correct?
No, that does not work out to 7-Eleven. That's incorrect. That information there is incorrect. That is a store area. That is the plan area of a store, not even the site area. The site is over 160,000 square feet, Mr. Chairman. That is just the store area, the 55,000. That's incorrect. That shouldn't be on there.
That's a land lease then?
The portion that I spoke to, $391,000, that's a land lease specifically, is my understanding for the gas bar, per year.
No, your page, second page, it says gross floor area of 55,000, that's the area of the store.
Yes.
So would that not mean that they're paying these rents of 30,000 per month for the total land that it has, including the gas bar?
The way I read this, Mr. Chairman, is if you look at A, the original term, sorry, and I'm referencing second page of my presentation, 3 paragraphs up. The original term from and after the gas bar commenced to and including November 1507. The rent payable under subparagraph, and it goes on. The originally shall be 29,000, and then as you can see it move up in B, and it's our understanding that $32,583.33 per month is specifically for the area of the gas bar itself.
So
Which
where it says the comment 4/28/2000, the lease was amended then, and it had these rents, it went from 29,000 per month to 32,000 per month. Then it says later on, the gas bar opened January 2004.
Right.
So how come they did a lease in 2000 when the gas bar was not even there?
Sorry, say that again?
The terms of that lease, the
Yeah.
date,
Mhm.
April 2000, the increase, the change the lease date, and the gas bar did not even exist until 2004.
That's correct.
And the lease started in 1997, that would be for Safeway at the time. No, this lease page does not refer to the gas bar all by itself. Actually, if you look at A, it says the original term from and after the gas bar commencement date. So this is after, including the gas bar, once it came on stream, and including November 2017, the rent payable, so and so. So they're saying after the gas bar, from and after the gas bar commencement date. Now, that'd be $390,000, and you're saying the rent should be $113,000. So would you not say that the rent that you report is much, much higher?
Oh, the rent is much, much higher. I see your point with respect to the date of the store opening, Mr. DuPont, and that point is taken. However, I must get back to the fact that this value is negotiated and understood by Altus. It was a separate income stream, Mr. Chairman, with attention paid to it in terms of the tanks and pumps at $483,000 and the base ARV per square foot of $273.60. It was accepted by Altus. This is not an inline tenant situation. We feel it's a reasonable amount.
No, the negotiations we had is without prejudice, but wasn't there some correspondence from our office saying the wanted the same value, but we wanted less rent for the gas bar? Would you agree that the correspondence exists?
Say that again?
There was correspondence, which I sent to you this week,
Right.
from Altus asking that they reduce the rent on the gas bar. And that we would agree to the total value, but we wanted some of that rent reduction to be passed on to the other inline tenants.
can you point me to that information? Is it presented here today, or is it in your
No,
brief? Is it in your brief?
no.
Because I don't have that information here.
Uh,
You may, and I'm not saying that you didn't send it to me.
I have it here, but I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think we should give it to the board because
No,
it's,
fair enough.
without prejudice to
Fair enough.
negotiation.
Yeah,
But
fair
as
enough.
part of the negotiation, I'll just state they did not agree with the rent
Are
on the
you-
gas bar.
Are you, I can't recall that, Mr. Chairman. I can't recall that, in all honesty, I can't recall it. It may be so, but that doesn't ring a bell to me.
Can I give it to you
Sure.
right now?
Yeah.
What did I
Thanks.
ask for?
Oh, this is, okay, the reason why I was not aware of this is because you're dealing with Michael Taylor here. This was not, I'm not privy to this. I wasn't privy to this. Like, this is not between, I had originally set the value for the mall for the 2018 roll, and that value was appealed and it was worked out in the end. I guess this was communication between Mr. Taylor and Rod Slaughter that I'm not aware of. That's why I guess I didn't know, didn't ring a bell.
So would you agree then that Altus did not agree to the values that you placed on the gas bar?
According to that email. Yes.
So you do not go with the actual rents in place? So you would go with the market rent, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have any comparables here today for your market rents?
No, I don't.
All questions?
Okay, Jerry, questions?
We're dealing with the co-op gas bar only, right?
That's correct, just the gas bar and, well, just the kiosk, basically, and we can see the gas bar.
And the pump, yeah.
Well, the pump value is not really included in the business assessment, but it's all encompassing
So
this
the
property.
premise area is 416 square feet?
Yeah, that's the kiosk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just the kiosk.
And how come the occupancy costs or heat, electricity, water, and air conditioning are included in this?
Because it does have that.
It does have
Within
that?
the kiosk itself, yeah.
Oh,
It's air
okay.
conditioned, it's heated, it has electricity.
Has all
There's
those-
it's someone in there operating the kiosk.
So it has all those?
Yeah, it has to have.
Oh, okay.
those things.
I was surprised to see that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my question.
Carrie?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, this kiosk, is it like a typical kiosk that was at the most Safeway gas pumps where they have a small concession area and,
You can go on, yeah, sorry.
they have a small area where you can buy concessions and lottery tickets and,
And you pay for your gas there
Pay
if
for
you're
your
not
gas.
paying for it at the pump, or you can buy cigarettes in there, it's just a kiosk.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
So it's a little bit of retail
Yeah.
area, it's just
But
not-
it's encompassing this,
Yeah.
we're talking about the gas station itself, right? Not
Yeah.
only the kiosk.
Yeah, the
We're
kiosk.
talking about the land surrounding the kiosk now and everything, not just this little kiosk. So that's why it has such a high rate compared to, it's based on the, the principle of, well, I mean, the smaller the area, the higher the rent,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay, so would that, okay, I'm a little confused now, would that $273 then include the rent for the use of the land?
That's what it's trying to really capture also. Yeah, it's trying to capture that. In some cases it does, some cases it doesn't. But it's trying to capture the value of that land lease, basically. Because the kiosk itself is, how much is that value compared to the rest of the land? But the kiosk, when you're doing an income approach, it's a small kiosk, but it has all this has a large land to building area, obviously, because of the pumps and everything that's surrounding it. So in order to capture the whole value of that entity or that tenancy, the rate is higher, yeah. Yeah.
So it's technically not just the rent per square foot of this little 400
No,
square
no,
foot,
it's- It's trying to capture the value of the land,
yeah,
yeah.
which is important for a service, or for a gas kiosk.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can proceed then, Mr. Dupont.
Should I redirect from that?
Sure.
So the 416 square feet, on a retail basis, that'd be worth $15, $20 a square foot, and the rest would be land?
No, I mean, is that your,
Well, you're saying you try to capture land, so I'm saying, well, let's.
well, it would be
there's
less
something-
if it was a kiosk, I guess if it was just the kiosk itself, and now are you gonna add land value to that kiosk to come up with an actual annual rental value for the whole thing? Sure, it would be less, yeah, but you will see the land rate high. You'll see a much higher land rate, and not a much higher land rate, but a rate for, say, a square footage of 40,000 or an acre, right? That the pumps and the kiosk is sitting on. You would see a corresponding land value for that entity.
Would you agree this property has only 4 double pumps?
Yes.
Would you agree on the market when they do rent, it's based on how many pumps they have? And so they divide it by the number of pumps, the rent by number of pumps is more accurate than divided by square footage of the kiosk?
I think there's more to it than that. It depends on the location of these pumps. I mean, obviously, if something is down Gateway Road, or let's say, I don't know, somewhere that's not as prominent or valuable in terms of land, I think you'd have to correspondingly atone for that. So, look, the infrastructure on these gas pumps are put in by the operators, Mr. Chairman. The owners absolve themselves of all of that. Co-op comes in, it's their tanks, it's their infrastructure in there.
So they'd have to do any.
They would have, pardon me?
They'd have to do any cleanup?
They don't have to do any cleanup, remediation of the site or anything, but this is not a rental rate. Sure, it may allow a capacity of so many pumps, but still, the owner wants to get a specific value for that piece of land. It's valuable. So to say that if you're only having 4 pumps versus 8 pumps or something like that, there's a corresponding difference in value because of that, I would say probably not, because it depends on the size of the land, which it would, you'd have to have a larger area, possibly, but it depends on location too, and the prominence of the site. That's what drives the land value. The owners are not concerned with your business in a sense, and in terms of putting the pumps in there. They're concerned with getting market value for that piece of property they have there, a return on their investment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Henry, you can make your presentation.
Should I redirect from that? When you say they are not concerned with the environmental conditions and whether there's problems with that in the future, they meaning the owner of the mall?
Oh, I didn't say that they're not concerned with the environmental impact. They're not concerned with the business itself or how many pumps. They're not generating income from the site. It's the operator that's generating income, and they choose to do whatever they choose to do within the limits of the permit or what's permitted on that site. No, of course they're interested in the environmental impact of the site.
And who is responsible, the operator of the gas bar for any environmental problems, or the landlord?
Okay, we're getting kind of into, I know it follows from my question, but I don't know how this relates to value.
Well, we're assessing the rights of the tenants here, not the rights of the landlord. And so the tenants has a responsibility for environmental as part of the risk that you would have and leasing out this property to somebody else has to take over the responsibility of environmental.
Okay.
Would you agree then that the risk of environmental is to the tenant and not to the landlord?
Yes, I do, but in the end, what we're trying to achieve here, Mr. Chairman, is what that land would lease out for a market value, including that kiosk. What the value of that property would be, including the kiosk. And the reason it has a rate of $273.60 is because it captures the value of the land too.
No more questions.
Okay, so go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, so first page, we say it's a co-op, it's previously Safeway, it's a gas bar and the pad lease with the grocery store. We've got 4 double pumps and a small kiosk. We request $10,000 per pump, which is $40,000, plus the cost to occupy is not disputed. So we say $978, which is $40,978. We round to $40,980. Then we show the realty. For 2016, the assessor had a recommendation of $201.84 per square foot, which had a value of $1 million. They added the other improvements, which the cost approach on the tanks, and the total value was $1,414,000 for 2016 realty. 2018 realty, shown on the right, the increase in rent is $273.60 per square foot. 6.5 cap rate. The value went to $1,006,000 plus $483 in the tanks and went up to $2,078,000. So the increase was 47%, which I believe is not reasonable, and that's the reason why Altus was not agreeing to the rent of the $273.60. They asked the assessor to reduce that rent. They were agreeing to overall value. They just wanted that value passed on to the other inland tenants. Page 2 is the aerial photo. You can see that it has 4 double pumps and a small kiosk. So the 8 double pumps are the very busy properties would have a lot more business. The next page, that's the original assessment of this property at $273 per square foot. And that's the value, and it's now $2,078,000. So I would suggest to you that that little kiosk and the 4 pumps is not worth $2 million. It seems like a really high price. The next page, the R rent comparables. So we have some rent comparables. We show the addresses in the Aaron Mandalay region, etc. We have the face month for rent. 37.50 is the first one, then 26, 22, 15, etc. So the highest is 55.41 at Petro-Canada, which I believe is incorrect. Well, it's a pad lease also, but includes the
Sorry, which one are you referencing, Mr. Dupuy?
the fourth one from the bottom.
Fourth one.
All 25 same areas.
Oh, okay.
Petro-Canada, a leasable area, 2610, so it's not a kiosk there. So it's a large C-store. It includes a car wash on top of that. So that rent per square foot, face rent per square foot is only $25. So I wouldn't mind $25 for the subject. But the face amount of the rent is high because it includes a car wash and a large C-store. So the subject should be much less than $55.41 per month. The next highest is the $37.50 per month, and the rest are $1,500 to $2,500 per month. And that's the rental. When the actual rentals you have in the marketplace, and now the higher ones, when they have small square footage, it can be very high. Because the rent is not really based on square footage of the kiosk. The next comparable sheet, that's an assessor's comparable rent on 1070 Henderson. And that was shown in the page after is from Mirek Florek at the Board of Revision. He presented these comparables. He went by number of pumps. So you see in the middle that it has the number of pumps. And then he has a net rent per pump at the last column. And so we have 13,000, then the one in Nixter, Tempo Gas Bar, 17,000, that's a high one. Then the other ones are 8,000, 45.96. Most of them are below 10,000, and there's only 3 above 10,000. So based on this particular comparable, which is based on number of pumps, we believe that the rent per pump of 10,000 is applicable. And a lot of these skip areas you have in the middle, a lot of those are high, so that they have a lot more business from their retail. Whereas subjects is very small, so they have very small retail business. So therefore, I believe that based on that comparable, 10,000 per pump is reasonable. Then we have the 2018, where we went to the board on 1070 Henderson, just to give you the background, and the assessors on top, direct for it. That was the assessors work up here, so that they had $156 per square foot and 450 square feet, compared to 273, and the rent was 70,000. Then the next page, the 2016 realty decision on this property, St. Vital Mall. That was Howard and Rod Slaughter. Then it shows there the other agents. They had the 4 other agents, which shows that the other agents are there for the representing the large tenants that pay tax on their rent, based on their rent. So there's an overall value. It doesn't establish how each one was done. And then the page after that is the 2016 workup on this property. It shows the skip was at $1,645,000. And then the 2016, the assessor, Mr. McCubbin, had a reduction in value, and our calculations on page, the second last page, the skip was down to 1414. And then the 2016 board, where we agreed to 1414, well, we didn't really agree. That was the workup on that, and the rent allowed on that one was 2,184. So based on rental comparables, we believe that we presented here, that we believe should be 10,000 per pump. Thank you.
Questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So you're valuing it based on a rate per pump?
That's correct.
Is there actually any information out there to tell you what someone would put when someone installs pumps in the ground, including the infrastructure and everything else that goes on at the gas bar? Is there information, actual information out there that you can point to? Or is this just a regurgitation of figures that we're trying to show some sort of relationship based on the values that we have? Because to my knowledge, there's no rental rates for pumps per se. These are always owner occupied. They're always installed by the owner themselves. And would you agree that $10,000 per pump, and when you say per pump, are you capturing the infrastructure below the pump? Are you capturing the tanks within that $10,000? The excavation, the work it takes to actually get a pump sitting on top of the ground to pump gas? What is the value of that? Is that value, you're telling me the value per pump in totality, if it takes a portion of that, it'll have to take a portion of the tanks that's sitting onto the ground, plus the cost of the pump itself, plus the installation. You're telling me that's $10,000, Mr. DuPont? Is that your
The
calculation?
assessor in 1070 Henderson has a rent 156 per square foot, and he had additional building value of 233,000, which is the value of the pump. And as you said a while ago, the rent that you established does not cover the costs, which you have separately at 483,000.
Yeah, this
Okay,
is,
so that the rent on a per pump is the rent for the pump, does not cover the extra costs, which you assess separately for realty purposes.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Jerry, questions?
Yes, so you're requesting $10,000 per pump and for 4 pumps. Are those double pumps?
Yeah, well, on each side, yeah.
So there's a total of 8 actual
Yeah,
pumps?
4 double pumps, yeah.
So how do you know if your comparables are double or is there such a thing as a single pump?
No, it's always a double pump because it's used on both sides. And you have a dome where they may have only 2 pumps. And so the assessor would have net rent per pump. And it's a double pump because every pump is double-sided.
Okay, so that's pretty much a standard.
And that's the standard way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Every pump is double because it has 2 sides.
Okay. That's my question, Mr. Chairman.
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the obvious one. Looking at the picture on page 2, aren't there 6 pumps? 2 to the left of the kiosk
yeah,
and
yeah,
4 to
okay.
the right?
Yeah, you're right, there'd be 6. So, yeah, I would increase that to another 20,000.
Matter of fact, that's an old photograph. It was reconfigured
Safeway.
after that too. So say this is when it was Safeway.
Yeah.
It's basically the same sort of canopy with different name brand and everything, but that's an old photograph.
Yeah, it's an old photograph.
Yeah.
They haven't changed the
No,
infrastructure.
no, it's basically the same.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right, so you're saying 60,000
980, yeah. Oh, I believe that.
if it's divisible by 12.
Yeah.
We'll, and ends in 0, we'll look at that.
I come to 60,960.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to, okay, we'll take just a quick break. Yeah. A quick break here. Okay, we will move to 1225 St. Mary's, Unit 23A.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5559. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 23A-1225 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 40795. The business name is Jet Scare, and the owners are True North Sports and Entertainment Limited. The total annual rental value, Mr. Chairman, is $104,160. We do have an actual lease on this property, a net lease that commenced November the 1st, 2013, some considerable time before the actual reference period of April the 1st, 2016. It was a 3-year lease, $33 a square foot. And you can see my comparisons all within the mall and relatively the same size as this unit. And you can see their relative values, net rent per square foot. And I asked the board to confirm the value of $104,160.
Any questions, Henry?
No questions, I asked for confirmation.
Okay, yeah, 54-1
Yes.
at 104,160. Okay, Unit 24.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5326. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 24-1225 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 29835. The business name is MTS Connect Store. The total annual rental value is $128,820. The actual paid rent on this unit, Mr. Chairman, the lease start is May the 1st, 2014, 11 years, $40 per square foot. The same argument goes as the previous argument. Ditto with respect to how we came up with the base ARV per square foot of $49.62. And we're asking, and you can see the comparisons I have below there, Mr. Chairman, relatively the same size as the subject. And I'm asking that the board confirm a value of $128,820.
Any questions, Henry?
The rent's $49.62, how was that established?
Again, this appears to be an overall value, Mr. Chairman.
All questions?
Okay, Jerry, any questions?
No questions.
Carrie, questions?
Just one, did you have a chance to inspect the property, Mr. McKenna?
Not for the purposes of this hearing, Mr. Chairman, but I have been in this mall for the purposes of the realty itself, but not specifically to this unit,
Okay.
no.
And is this unit an actual store within the mall, or is it one of those kiosks in the middle of the mall?
It's not a kiosk, it's an actual unit within the
Okay.
mall.
Thank you, that's all my questions.
And I have no questions, so you can proceed, Henry.
Yes, so the first page, so the lease from May 2014 to May 2019 is $40 a square foot, which is $99,160 per year, and that's what we're requesting. Instead of $123,000 rent, we're asking for $99,000. We don't dispute the cost to occupy, so that comes to $105,000. 2018 was done by 15-1 for the realty, that is. So that this is part of the inline rents where we negotiate it on a bulk basis overall. and we did not negotiate individual rents. Page 2 shows the map of Central Mall, and it's not clear enough to determine exactly where this particular tenant is. There's a few little areas where the have less traffic than others, but I don't know where the subject is. Page 3 is the part of the rent roll. So this one, it shows that TS Connect, so the 2479, so it's a relatively large store, so it's not a kiosk. We have another kiosk coming up later, and the rent is $40. We look at other rents that we have. I removed the names, but there is rents above. The first rent is $33 for 1973 square feet. Then we have one at $33 for 1168 square feet. Then we have $33 for 1506 square feet. The 490 is kind of low. Another one at $40 for 3,000, $30 for 4,800. Page 4, some more comparables at $50, $47, 45, 35, 40, 33, 38, 51. The one at the bottom of 51 is MTS also that will be under appeal later, and so is the other MTS Connect. Sorry, that's the subject. That says May 1st, 2011, 2017 does. Then on the last page, we have some more comparables. So the rents vary quite a bit. But there is a lot of rents at the $40, so the subject is not at the a low rent per se. It's in line with the rest of the rents, and it's a specific rent to the subject property, and it's not an old rent. So I believe we should go with the actual rent in place. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Howard?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Gary, any questions?
Questions, thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking at your rent rolls here, last few pages. The rents are all over the place. How does that happen? I mean, wouldn't the tenants be wanting to be treated fairly toward the other tenants? Like,
Each tenant does not know what other tenants are paying. That's private information. So that
Okay.
when they're negotiating, they don't have that knowledge. And every tenant will have their own, I guess, the pluses and minuses, and some will be a draw, and they'll pay less, and some may be larger or smaller. Some of the large rents, the $140 would be, could be in the food court. So there they would pay, well, yeah, the one at 142 is 315 square feet, so very small. So that could be a kiosk also. So the landlord negotiate whatever rent they can. So they want to balance different types of tenants, so that certain tenants are more important than others for them to have. Maybe a fashion store would have less of a negotiating power because there's a lot of those. But if you're a drug company or pharmaceutical, you need those at the mall, and they would have a bit more negotiating power. So it's whatever they can negotiate on each individual basis.
does part of it have to do with leasehold improvements as to whether the tenant provides it or the landlord?
They probably have a standard policy on that, so I don't think there would be not much difference.
Normally, that's up to the tenant, is that correct?
That I don't know.
Okay. I'm just wondering if that might have had some effect on the square foot rate. At the,
No, I believe the assessor and ourselves do not adjust for tenant improvements. We use the actual rent rolls, and we establish rents from that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and imagine location, a tenant might want to pay more to have a location right in the center court as opposed to down some.
A little corridor at the end, yeah, and maybe besides Walmart is better than besides Sears or Hudson Bay and so on and so forth. So that the location within the mall, it could be very important.
Yeah, okay, thank you. We just did unit 24, so we're on to unit 103A. Oh, 26, sorry, unit 26.
Yeah.
Sorry. You can
Okay.
proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5324, the applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 26-1225 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 52220. The business name is Cell Mechanics Repair. The total annual rental value is $47,520. The premise area is 850 square feet. The base ARV per square foot use is $53.56 per square foot. I believe this lease was signed after the reference. There's a lease after the reference period. I think this was a vacant unit at some time. We don't have lease information on it, as far as I can tell. It's not owner occupied, obviously. It's not part of the mall ownership. But nevertheless, I have some comparisons there that are these small premise areas of 889, 907, and 840. You can see the relative reported rent per square foot of $56.60 and $68. And I'm asking that the board maintain the total annual rental value of $47,520.
Okay, questions, Henry?
So for the realty assessment, do you know what rent was established by the assessor for that settlement?
No.
It was vacant? Or would you agree that?
Yeah, as far as I can remember, this unit was vacant and they moved in after the fact, and, yeah.
Would you agree that you assigned a rate of $36.53 per square foot for that vacant space?
33,
$36.53.
3653. That may be so at the time of its vacancy, yeah. I might have assigned rent. I can't remember, I can't recall, but I don't disagree with you. You have the facts in front of you.
Do you have any reason to believe that this, the lease that they signed was not market rent?
Which lease are you
That
referring
they
to?
signed in December 2016 at $51?
Sorry, what are you referring to?
The actual lease of the subject property in December 2016, do you believe that was at market rent? There was no unusual conditions?
That's not a part of my presentation. I guess you'll be making that presentation. Are you questioning me on my evidence or yours?
Okay, withdraw the question.
Okay, any other?
No.
Harry, question?
No questions, thank you.
Gary?
Is this a small square footage, it's not a kiosk, is it?
It's not a kiosk as far as I know. Kiosks, this is almost like 1,000 square feet. It's significant in size. Can't see it being a kiosk. Kiosks are usually like 200, 300, 400 square feet.
Just a small storefront space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, Mr. McCubbin,
Sure.
sorry. Mr. McCubbin, you're saying this isn't a kiosk and it's a
No.
standalone, but is this part of the Gap store that vacated St. Vital and went to Seasons of Tuxedo?
It could be, I'm not sure.
Okay.
It could be. I don't know the answer to
Okay, thank you. So,
Okay. You can proceed
Can
then.
I redirect on that? This is for Cell Mechanics, it's a repair store for phones, is that correct?
that. That's correct.
So we have lower finish than other retail?
It depends on the retailer you're referring to. Of course, retail finishes are not all the same.
But there would be like a shop in the back for storage and et cetera, fixing cones, only a
That's-
small area for retail.
That's correct, yeah, that's correct.
All questions?
Okay, I would, I permitted that, but on redirect, there should be something arising from the questions of the panel. And anything like that that's new should be in your main cross-examination in the future. So you complete with your presentation.
Yeah, so the actual lease for the subject is December 2016 for 5 years, and the paid $51.
Again, Mr. Chairman, I have to object to this sort of evidence being brought in here, because now we're dealing with post-reference material
Yeah.
and post-reference, and he's shown it here. I think it's patently unfair. We do not want to go there, Mr. Chairman. I know the board does not like going there for obvious reasons, and I'm gonna have to object to this sort of evidence being submitted and debated upon here.
Your objection is noted, and it is post-reference year material, and we'll certainly grant you that.
So the fourth page at the bottom, that shows that the cell mechanics, so therefore it's a repair shop. So that my argument with that would be that it would have a lower finish than other tenants because it's a repair shop. And it should have a lower rent because of that. And then it shows the proof that what the actual rent, so that's my submission.
Okay, any questions?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Carrie, questions?
No questions, thank you.
Jerry?
No questions.
I have none either. Okay, now, because my time is we'll come to unit 103A.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5357, the applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 103A-1225 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 6375, and the owners are 20 Vic Management Incorporated. Mr. Chairman, this is actually the leasing office and the admin office for the mall. It's within the bowels of the mall, if you can, within the interior of the mall. It doesn't have any storefront or space. You have to go through a corridor. It was assessed fairly high. Previously, I brought it down to $17 a square foot for the office space within that mall itself, bringing the total ARV from $107,520 to $52,740 because of its location within the mall.
And it would help my understanding of the matter if I actually flipped to the right page. Henry, how do you feel about that, Rick?
No questions, I accept.
Okay. Now, unit 703K.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5322. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 703K-1225 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 6399. The business name is MTS Mobility Center. This is a kiosk, Mr. Chairman. 150 square feet, has a rather high rate of $415.90, as one would expect for a kiosk of this size. We do have an actual lease start on this kiosk of June the 1st, 2013, 11 years, 10 months. And you can see its reported rent is $353.33. It's an older lease. I have comparisons of other kiosks within the mall itself, Mr. Chairman, and you can see their relative square foot values ranging from 121 to 150, and square foot value of $586.78 down to $466.67. And obviously, it's based on the economy of scale. And I ask that the board maintain the total annual rental value, which I think is reasonable for the reference period April 1st, 2016. I ask that the board maintain the total annual rental value of $62,760.
Okay. Questions, Henry?
No question.
Carrie, questions?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
Okay, you can proceed with your presentation then.
Yeah, so the first page, we're asking for the actual lease, the renting at $53,000 per year, or $253 per square foot, instead of the assessment at $415.90 per square foot. We don't dispute cost to occupy. So that rounds to $53,340. 2018 was based on a 15-1 settlement. No actual rent established for each individual tenant. We have the rent roll, page 5. So we show some of the rents, and the subject itself is shown on the last page, where they're paying at $353.32 per square foot. The rent right above that, 702K, that's $240 per square foot. The area is 200 square feet, so would be in the same location. So based on location, I believe this is the best comparable to have, and they're actually paying higher than that rent, $240, and that was established in 2014. That's my submission.
Any questions, Howard?
Yes, just an observation or a question too. So, Mr. DuPont, you would like the board to use the reported rent of $353.33 to calculate the business assessment for this property.
That's correct.
And that lease started in June the 1st, 2013.
That's correct.
I don't have any more questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any questions from the panel?
No questions from me, thanks.
Jerry?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Now we come to 604, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5617. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 604F-1501 St. Mary's Road. The business assessment ID is 6416. This is still essentially a part, Mr. Chairman, of the St. Vital Shopping Center. It's McDonald's Restaurants of Canada Limited. The total annual rental value is $164,280. The premise area is 4,800 square feet. You see the base ARV use of $31.88 and cost to occupy, which gave us that number of $164,280. There is a land lease for this specific property, Mr. Chairman, that the building sits on. They report it with the reported area of the building, not the land itself, but it is a land lease of $18.75. McDonald's comes in and builds their own building. You can see the other my rent comparables, and I can tell you these are all prominent fast food places, and their reported net rents range from $27.28 to $34.26 for similar size. So I ask that the board confirm the value of $164,280.
Okay, Henry?
I didn't understand what you said, that all these types of properties are what?
These are all fast food places similar to McDonald's.
Okay, so they're not necessarily McDonald's?
No, not necessarily McDonald's, no.
You show a lease in 2012 and a lease in 2010, so aren't these leases too old?
Those are older, and you can see they are actually of a lesser rate. Yeah. This is what I tried. I tried to capture a very similar circumstance with respect to the business that's being operated here and the type of restaurant. These were the leases that we had at the time. We do have a lot of land leases also, but I'm not here to promote a land lease, Mr. Chairman. A lot of these fast food restaurants do have land leases, and they're building themselves.
No further questions, and I accept, I'll ask for 54-1 confirmation.
And this is built on the pad site? Not-
Yes, it is.
Not connected to the shopping center?
No.
All right, so we move to something, the 1501. Oh, sorry, that was 1501. Anyway. Yeah, Sterling Park, 555 Sterling.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5495. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 225-555 Sterling Lion Parkway. The business assessment ID is 53032. The business name is Audi Winnipeg. The total annual rental value is $68,760. This business no longer occupies this unit, Mr. Chairman. It was vacated. It occupied it for all of 2017, is my understanding, and they vacated this specific unit within the Seasons of Tuxedo. This is the mall there. It's a unit. It was used as a showroom for Audi cars. So it got vacated on the 28th of February of this year, so we're dealing with 2 months here. I can tell you it's assessed at $16.85 per square foot. The finish is obviously it wouldn't be that of a retail store. I can tell you the overall rent per square foot for that mall currently is $30.53.
30, what?
$30.53 per square foot.
Okay, questions, Henry?
I assume the subject is assessed for realty at $16.85 per square foot?
Yes, that's a good assumption.
And do you know the actual rent of this property, this tenant?
They did not record any, this was after the reference period, Mr. Chairman. They occupied, this property was built after the reference period of April the 1st and operated after April the 1st, 2016.
Okay.
Opened after that fact, so even looking at the rent roll, which I did look, I can tell you, and I wouldn't tell you if there was a rent because it's post-reference material, but there was no rent recorded for this particular unit.
Okay. Any other questions, Henry?
No further questions, and I'll ask for confirmation.
Okay, thank you. 1485 Portage, Unit 243A.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5435. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 0243A-1485 Portage Avenue. It's the CF Pole Park Shopping Center. Business assessment ID is 24954. Business name is Urban Trail. The total annual rental value is $141.60. premise here is 1,354 square feet. It's assessed at $101.83 plus cost to occupy. We actually have a lease on this property, Mr. Chairman, that net lease commenced June the 1st, 2015, 3 years, 11 months, $95 a square foot. And you can see my comparisons there. Relative sizes to the subject property, ranging from $96.50 to upwards of $170, and that's a confirmation of this value of $149,060.
Questions, Henry?
Do you know what this mall was settled at overall rent for the inline tenants?
No, I should, but I don't have that information. I was part and parcel of that negotiation with Cadillac Fairview. We spoke directly, Cadillac Fairview engaged the assessment department. They have their own tax person within that operation, and now we were able to work out the value.
Would you agree that the average rent for this mall would be less than the assessment of 102 per square foot?
It depends. If you're, are you speaking of the inline tenants only, or are you speaking of the mall in general?
Inline tenants?
Inline tenants, possibly.
Your comparables, you show one at 170 per square foot, which is smaller than subject, and the other one at 96. You know why there's such a big difference in rents?
No, but one can assume, Mr. Chairman, that there are varying finishes within these units. Everyone, when I suspect a tenant approaches the owner, there may be improvements included, build-outs included. There may not be build-outs included within these rents. I don't know. I don't have the general leaf specifics, but it certainly does point in that direction.
You show it in the middle of the page that the actual rent in June 2015 was $95 per square foot.
That's correct.
So that's really close to the reference date, you would agree?
Yeah, it's close, yeah, but we're dealing with a market situation here and comparability with other units, Mr. Chairman, within the mall.
That's all the questions?
Okay, Carrie, any questions?
Yes, I'm just wondering, Mr. McCubbin, the rent comparables that you use, I'm assuming they're all located within Bull Park, they've got the same address. Can you tell me what these stores are operating as? Urban Trail is a footwear store?
Yeah, and my comparisons are all retail outlets too,
Okay,
within the mall, but retail.
right,
Yeah.
but you can't tell me specifically
The-
what type of store?
Be it clothing or shoes or something like that. I don't have that
Or
information
food
here.
or
Yeah,
health products?
no, I don't
No.
have that
All
information.
right, thank you, that's all my questions.
Jerry?
I have no questions.
Okay, I'm just wondering, there's some locations that probably wouldn't be prime, the ones in the old Zellers on the second floor, they're kinda, you gotta make an effort to go around there.
Right.
And same thing with the ones that go off to the old food stores on the first floor. Do you know where your comparables are located?
My comparables are all located by looking at their unit number on the second floor.
Okay.
Yeah, and one is actually fairly close. There are A and B units in there too, but there's the 1A unit I have there. Now, ask me what that signifies, I'm not sure. Similar to the subject property.
All right, you can make your presentation, Henry.
I'm asking for the actual rent, signed June 2015, $95 a square foot. I don't dispute the occupancy cost, so that comes to $131,820. Now, page 2, Polo Park does show some locations. So the top one is the where the jet skier is, which is the next appeal, or that's in the second floor where the old Zellers West. So that is an inferior location. Page 3 though shows that Urban Trail is in the main mall, on the main, the large walkway. So it has a relatively good location. So it's not on the side streets or the mall. So it has a relatively good, good location. Page 4, as part of the rent roll, the first one I have there is jet skier, and that's for another appeal. So the rate per square foot shown in the middle of the page, and I circled some so that the units L would be in the old Zeller space, so those would be inferior. The next page, page 5, is the Urban Trail lease itself, 95. So the units near there, 242, would be $70 a square foot. At 241 is 75. 240A is 89. So this is one of the highest leases in that area. With the numbers would follow. At 244 would be only $60 a square foot, and the next one is 65, and 65, and 65. So in surrounding the subject itself, you have lower rents. Subject is the highest rent in that particular area of the mall. The page 6, we have some other ones at 67, 65, etc. So we have some in the hundreds, a lot of them in the below the $95 a square foot. Page 7, same thing. We have the other comparables. So the rents vary quite a bit, and around the subject, it's lower than 95, but we're asking for the actual rent signed at 95. That's my report.
Okay, questions, Howard?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'll just summarize,
Okay.
basically.
Jerry, questions?
No questions.
Carrie?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, you can do your summary then.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. As discussed here on other properties earlier, Mr. Chairman, there's varying degrees of finish within these units. To say that the old Zeller space is less desirable than something that's in a walkway, I don't think that's necessarily true. It's all new space. It was built out, high ceilings. It's very fashionable in that area. High-end stores are located in that area, and it's well done. So to say that value should be diminished because it's in that Zeller space, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think a value of $101.83 for this unit is appropriate. Thank you.
Any summation, Henry?
Yes, I'm not saying it's in these Zellers. I'm saying the jet skier, which would be another appeal here, is in that area. I'm saying that the rents right beside Urban Trail, following the numbers, the suite numbers, they're all lower than $95 a square foot. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to unit L153D.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-557. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is L153D-1485 Portage Avenue. Business assessment ID is 51228. The business name is Jets Gear. The owners are Winnipeg Jets Club, Hockey Club Limited Partnership. The total annual rental value is $166,800. And we do have an actual rent on this property. It was signed January 18, 2016, 3 years, for $57.50. The current base ARV used for this particular unit is $70.20 plus cost to occupy. And these are all lower level comparisons I have, Mr. Chairman. You can see the relative values and ask for confirmation of the total annual rental value. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Henry?
Your comparables, do you know whether they're in the old Zellers area or not?
These are all on the lower level. Are they not? I'm pretty sure they are.
Isn't jet gear
So
on
it
the
wouldn't
second
be
floor?
on the. Just bear with me, please.
Oh, yes, it's lower level.
It's all on the lower level.
So it's below the Zellers area.
Yeah.
So is any of your comparables in that corridor off the main corridor?
Not sure.
All questions?
Okay, any questions, Karen,
Questions, thank you.
Jerry?
So, this is $70 a square foot compared to the previous one at $101 a square foot. What's the basis for that?
Just bear with me.
The previous one was Urban Trail, 101.83.
Right.
Why would
Right.
this one only be $70.20?
Good question. It seems as though jet scare gets, when we look at them all, when we look at rents throughout, they always seem to be below market as far as we're concerned. Another reason why it could be is because
They're good.
they're larger and they're good negotiators. I don't know. We're just trying to have some fairness in the system here, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks. That's my question.
Okay, and I have no questions, so you can proceed.
So first page, the actual rent, January 2016, 3 months before the reference date, $57.50 is actual rent paid. That's what we were requesting versus $70.20 that you said given. We don't dispute the cost to occupy, so it comes to $137,580. It shows there was no 2018 realty appeal. Page 2, it shows the map and it shows on the top right that the L1 is what's lit up there. So it is the main floor and it is the side corridors. The main corridor is going the right and left there. So this is the less favorable location. So it's not as good. And then at the bottom we show that the jet ski is shown there. The corridor in front of the Forever 21. Page 3 shows the urban trail, which would be on the main corridor. So that would be why the urban trail is at the higher $103, or $101 or $95 that they're actually paying, because they're on the main corridor. Page 4 is the rent roll. The main thing to look at is the rents on the same page, so the subject's L153D, and then the one right above it is L152L. That was at $50. Then the one below that, the 154C, is at $60. And so if you look at the whole page, the first one's 85, 128, 94, 50, 57, 60, 67, 45, 55. So the rents will vary, likely due to their location, and the subject has at least at or near the reference date. So the 154 L154 is half the size, 1292 square feet at $60. The other one's 1036 at $67.50. And the one right above it, 2,000 square feet at $50. So I believe the subject rents are at market, and they're lower than the rents that are in the main quarter for sure. Page 5, we have some other rents that are they're not all in the $100 or $70, etc. There's a whole bunch in the 60s. On page 5, I circled those in the 60s. Page 6, there's also some, and there's also one in the 52. So page 7, we have some rents in the 50s, 60s, and even one at 45 in 2016, $45 a square foot. And then page 8, we have some more, 66, 48, 67, 52. So no, it's not as if the subject is different from the rest. It's not as if they were such a good negotiator, they got $20 less than what everybody else is paying. But what they're getting is market, and the other thing is that Just Gear is a draw. As a landlord, you don't want all fashion, and you want the different things that are draws, and having a Just Gear store is very important to them to prevent people from going to the outdoor sports retail area. And they have one inside, so that's, they probably have more negotiating power because they are a draw in itself too. Thank you.
Okay, questions, Howard?
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
Gary, questions?
No questions.
Gary?
No questions.
Okay, thank you for that then. Shall move to 393 Portage, Unit 302.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5318. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 302B-393 Portage Avenue. This unit is actually in Portage Place, Mr. Chairman. Its office. The business assessment ID is 52092. The owner is Investors Group Financial Services Incorporated. We have a total annual rental value of $227,820. My recommendation was reducing it from $227,820 to $205,800, but I believe Mr. DuPont does have, his brief does say $191,280. The major difference here, Mr. Chairman, is if you look at the premise ID 20091, I will be changing that to $1150 per square foot instead of $1708. And it would work out to $191,280.
So is that what your
Yeah, my new recommendation is $191,280.
191,280?
Yep.
Okay, and how do you feel about that?
I accept, so therefore no question.
Okay, thank you. 2305 McPhillips, Unit 117.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5565. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 117-2305 McPhillips Street. This unit is located within the Garden City Shopping Center. Business assessment ID 2089. The owner is a Warehouse One Clothing Limited. The total annual rental value is $84,420. The total premise area is 3,000 square feet. It's assessed at $1050. Actually, I've reduced it to $1050, Mr. Chairman, plus occupancy costs, which brings the total annual rental value down now from $84,420 to $38,580. There was no lease recorded for this property, as I showed on the subject lease information. I do, however, have some rents within the shopping center, and they vary quite widely. This shopping center is on its way up again. It's been sort of down for quite some time. It's starting to get its footing and being refurbished, and that's my presentation.
Okay, how do you feel about the recommendation?
I accept, no questions.
Thank you. And Unit 157.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5747, the applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 157-2305 McPhillips Street. Business assessment ID is 7557. The owners are Nygaard International. Total annual rental value is $67,500. I have a recommendation to reduce the total annual rental value from $67,500 to $52,740 based on $20 a square foot base ARV per square foot. Again, that's an old lease sign there, but it's indicative of a mall it's on its way back up, and I'll go with the old lease on this property. Because, we have varying rents within this mall itself. They're very wide.
How do you feel about the rec?
I accept, no questions.
Okay. And last but not least, Unit 400.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. File number 17-5628. The applicant is Altus Group Limited. The roll year is 2018. The address is 400-2305 McPhillips Street. The business assessment ID is 7575. The owners are 1562903 Ontario Limited. Total annual rental value is $136,920. I do have a recommendation, Mr. Chairman, to reduce that rental value from $136,920 to $78,000 based on $14.50 a square foot. The reason being, this is the admin office that, again, is not an inline tenant per se, and it's used as a leasing and admin office for the mall itself.
Henry, how do you feel about that?
I accept, no questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentations. That concludes today's meeting, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.